because this is the first time I reached the Netherlands, and that Monday hit and the 12 o'clock pull up.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard the alarm, and I thought I was in the 2012 movie. And I run to my grandmother crying. I actually had tears in my eyes. I was like, oh man, what's happening? Are we gonna die?
So what going on, guys?
So what?
It's me, Hadie.
And it's your girl, Jojo Renee. And you're tuned into episode 55 of BTB Podcast.
It's 55?
I love a double number. 55. Cinco. We are here, guys.
That's a good number.
Yeah. Let me think of...
Change.
55?
No, that's supposed to be my number this year.
Really? Oh, yeah, 5.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
And there's been quite a bit of change. But we changed it back.
You don't even know what
They
you're
wouldn't
talking
even
about.
understand.
So I'm gonna be watching back and I'll be like, I always laughing. Are you don't get tired of me laughing? I just be
I would
laughing.
never get tired of you laughing.
Oh my gosh, get together.
Laughing is
I gotta get
good.
real serious about like, what? Of course
No.
I'm not gonna stop. I can't help
Exactly.
it. But
Don't
just be like,
stop.
what the hell? Like always laughing. Or yesterday, you didn't see the video I posted for Asha, but I was just looking at all the clips of me and her, and it was just me laughing. You see it. I was just like, it don't even make sense to put music on this because people need to hear me laughing with her. But at the same time, I was just like, I just always laughing.
I think that's good. I'd rather that than like you doing nothing.
Yeah, okay,
Like imagine, or you... I feel like it's balanced, man.
Oh, balance with what? What's the other?
Laughing and
what's the opposite
talking
end?
and quieting. Like you're laughing and your laughing ratio to your talking and just being quiet is higher. However, it makes sense. I'd rather that than like say your quiet ratio to your laughing and talking be higher. Or even your talking ratio. Because
okay.
sometimes I can't brace when people talk too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, when I was watching back the episodes once, I realized I would say, what? In a case of and level, I saw what Malcolm was talking about.
I just also say in the case.
Yeah,
I
right?
think it's I don't know.
Or
we
in a
gotta-
sense of.
in
I
a
would
sense
always
of-
say
no,
in a sense of.
In a sense.
I'm like, I think they get enough sense. At this point, it's dollars.
Yeah,
It's insane. But yes,
same.
how you doing?
What I was trying to say is like,
Right away,
Sorry.
side note. Let me get into something real quick because I know you saw that amazing immaculate video we made with Savange. And Hadie's rocking her earrings today. But we wanted to highlight like how amazing those products was. Angelique brought us a gift basket of Savange products. We got appeals. They will never understand that joke, but that's fine. If you watch RuPaul, you understand. But yeah, we got lip gloss. We got a pink, the red, and the color changing one.
the lip scrub, the body butter,
The leave-in conditioner, the face
I've been
cream.
using the face cream.
And it's been a couple of months now that we actually using them. And guys, if you ain't check out Savange, you actually sleeping. I think because if you're looking at for the video viewers, you'll see the products and you'll see the beauty and the thought that goes into it. And yeah, I think it's just your time to go
but
to
to me,
Savange.
also the scent of stuff.
Yeah.
So like even lip gloss, the hair products, and also just I don't know. I think that's her next product. She should make her next product a little body spritz, a little spray.
Oh yeah, a body
A
spray.
little body spray
Especially
because
for the
the
summer.
scent be given.
Yeah, that part.
Like so. But yeah.
So y'all check it out. We're going to include, of course, the details in the link below.
Yeah.
Check out our Instagram also for that little short commercial we had. And yeah, just know there's more coming soon. But yes,
How you doing?
I good. The weather's getting hotter. Yeah. Once I see the sun, I feel happier. So I am good. Been having a little logistics with my cats because the father beating the daughter now. Yeah, he just beaten her.
The neighbor taking him back?
No, he abandoned him, and then so the neighbor now have another cat. And when I tell you I had looked like a mad woman, that cat is a woman. And the cat, well, a girl, because she's younger than Luna. When I had Luna, when he was going after Luna. So she's probably like a good 5 months. And she was in heat. And tell me why I open my door and I see him on top of her.
a 6-month-old cat.
And she's the cutest thing ever. And she reminds me of my cat that had passed away. So I have a soft spot for her. I just let her in and eat the food, everything. But yeah, and I cussing him. And then I went to get water. I started flinging water. But then I realized it wasn't water. I had like an apple juice. Yeah, I was flinging apple juice.
But I mean, you think the cat done pregnant?
I hope not, because she's too young.
6 months is crazy.
But I ain't gonna lie. I don't think my neighbors will ever watch this. But shame on all you. Because for one, you disown the father. Now he's just full of sperm cat, always in heat. He's always doing his mating
But
call.
he's basically on the road. You try to
He in the garden. He's in all of the gardens. Yeah,
Was that song from SZA in the garden?
I think so.
No, no, that was from Kendrick. Sorry.
Oh, but yeah. So yeah, he's just going terrorizing all the female cats except for the Cookie, because that's his baby mama. He love her. He got a soft spot for her.
He just got children all over the place. We talking about on our Patreon. If you haven't subscribed or join our Patreon, and now you could get the bonus episodes even if you're bestie on the couch. So, we was talking about our men just putting it everywhere. Like this
and
cat.
The crazy thing is in every form they just ain't shit.
Yeah.
Because you mean to tell me as a cat you ain't shit either?
Yeah.
Like, get it together.
You have none to do in the world.
Oh, but I do let him in to eat. And he sleeps on the windowsill. It's really sweet. But today he was sleeping on the windowsill and Luna came inside, because when he come in, I just let Luna outside. Yeah. So then I feel better. But then she came in and I was like, okay, guys, I need to get ready. So you figure it out. But I still on edge and I still listen. And then I heard him, so I ran. But it was like, okay. And then he goes like this. And then I know he gonna hit her. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Breaks my heart.
You think, sorry. I know cats, do you think that they still get as horny when they have the operation?
No, they don't. They don't get heat anymore after they get sterilized.
But they still want?
No. Because cats just there to reproduce. They're not, especially the women, they just get in heat to reproduce.
So they don't have the zen. They don't
have that mechanism to get in heat again. They can't get in heat again. So when they
go through on it, because I did that Oreo go outside and she really liked being outside. She just talk. She just really talked to me. Yeah. She was like, yeah, no, I want to go outside. Yeah. Yeah. So then she was like, she'd like to go outside. But I just be like, you got a man out there or something? Like, why you always want to go outside?
Because there's so many things that fly around outside.
I know. They just love the prickles.
Oh, they love it. Like, whenever, one time the cat hit the freaking door. Because the door to go outside in the garden is glass. And she's... It was so funny. I was like, you dumb bitch, but I love you so much. But yeah, so other than that, I've been good. I started boxing again. Oh. Yeah, insane. But a new boxing. Oh, so I did it by David Lloyd, but now it's by YG Studios, and I like it more because I'm left-handed, and they actually pay attention to the fact that I'm left-handed.
And you're not the only girl.
No, at David Lloyd, I wasn't the only girl either. That was in mixed martial arts. That was scary. Okay, that was scary. But yeah, other than my bike is still intact. It's still with me. So I'm really happy about that. I was laughing. Yes, no, we could laugh. Otherwise, we'll cry. No. Yeah, ratio and shit. How you been?
I good, right? I do think...
You have to go.
Yeah, sometimes you have to think, remember, like, the thing is, I just have, like, when things happen to me, I just delete it. Unless it's really traumatic. So it's like, maybe I wasn't good 2 days ago, but I can't remember.
But I feel like I just involuntarily delete stuff. Right. Like, even when I want to tell stories to all you, I forget. But I knew I wanted to tell you a story.
Writing it down in my notes.
Love that.
So every time I have a thought now, and put it in. But yeah, back to what we're doing. I think I'm good.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I think I'm good. Just, I don't know. So weird things happen to me though. Recently. Like a night there, I get up to pee and I wash my hands. Yeah. And my sink is like one of those long sinks.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I leave the water running, but I didn't realize. So I in my bed, I like, you're about to like just cuddle up, and I hear it on so I'm like, oh, what are you doing? But I like, no, this sound like water. So then after I like, okay, she playing with something. I don't know. I like, okay, no, let me get up and see what she doing. I still ain't thinking it's a sink.
They're blaming the cat. Unbelievable.
Right? I get up because if you have a long sink, like, they just get stopped up really quickly. So it's like not like the water gonna go down.
This is one in your shower bathroom.
Yeah. So apparently the water just built up and it just started pouring over. But thank God it was in the shower bathroom.
Yeah.
Because then a lot of water just started going by the shower.
Exactly.
But at that point, I think drawers was open. So like my whole drawer was just soaking with water. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. I was just like, really, right now? But yeah.
I would have cussed.
Yeah. But
I would have go sleep and dream that it was cleaned up.
no, it's easy. You know, in those moments, you just go back to sleep and then forget. When you wake up, like, oh yeah, that had happened. Because 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, just feel like you're dreaming still. In a way. Sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially if I go back to sleep and sleep good,
Yeah.
it's like,
Have y'all been having weird dreams lately?
yes. But I
Okay.
don't remember them when I wake up.
Some of them I can't repeat because they're that insane.
Oh,
I'll tell y'all after.
okay.
I ain't Patreon might hear it.
I just also just dream about people I think about in like, I forget they exist. It's like, why are you in my dream? I don't know. That always be weird to me. And I just wake up and remember I dream about specific people, but don't remember what we was doing in the dream.
I used to have a dream journal in my voice notes.
Yeah, but then you had to remember the dream to be able to write that. As soon as I wake up, I forget it.
But I can't write. That's why it's a dream journal for voice notes. Honestly, I had to lock my voice memos because it's insane. Like, I've had voice memos for everything. When I was taking cold showers, I would document it in my voice memos. Or when I couldn't journal and I was like crashing out, I would have to say it out loud. But early, I think this was like from 2019, I would start recording my dreams as soon as I wake up. But it sounds so bazodi. It'd be like, good morning on today's episode of Jody's Dreams. And going back and listening to it, I had the wildest dreams.
Oh, I won't start doing that, but it's literally like when I wake up, I forget.
There's this one, sorry, I have to say this one dream. There was this one dream that we was getting invaded by aliens, but it was coming to get all the Nutella. So we had to hide the Nutella. I told you about this.
I think you say it on the podcast.
Oh my gosh, I can't get over that dream because it felt so vivid. I had the last tub of Nutella. And I was by Satel, the phone company, and they have a flat roof and I was hiding behind something to hide the Nutella. Yeah, bye. Crazy. Anyways.
I don't know. I can't remember. But Song of the Week.
Song of the Week. Arike by Kunmi. It's like I don't know. I just want somebody hold me in their arms and listen to that song.
So it's like a zouk?
No, it's Afro, but it's like a really nice.
One of those like floating in the air Afro songs.
It's really nice.
I get that.
It's deep.
In those moments, I just like dream my whole like love story.
Thank you. You know how many times I dreamt of my love story listening to that song?
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. But yeah, what's yours?
Proud of Me by Friday and McMill.
Oh, that album is
I listened to the whole album. I listened to the song everybody was talking about.
Oh, no.
But, yeah, I should go listen to that.
The first song I listened to was the one with Wale. But that's because I love Wale. So when I saw Friday and they make sense.
Yeah, they do.
Like when I saw Friday and Wale, I was like, okay, yeah, no, this gonna be a banger. And it is.
But I feel like he disappeared though.
Who? Wale, yeah,
yeah.
for sure. But he pops in and out, I find.
He used to be more on the scene, but I think but the funny thing is he and J. Cole friends. So they have a song with J. Cole. But also, I said in the last episode with the Outcast thing, the 10 series podcast that J. Cole dropped, he explained how their friendship come to be too. And he also explained that with Drake and Kendrick.
Okay.
But he recorded this 2-3 years ago. So this is even before the beef.
Oh.
Wale, that's what I was talking about. Yeah. But no, so I don't know, from back then, I had always feel like he was more on the scene back then. But then in one of the songs J. Cole was talking about, he had this friend that just always not obsessed, but was really worried about the critics and what the fans saying. Everybody deciphered tonight was Wale.
Yeah.
And the next verse was about Kanye. And I feel like Wale just one of those people that is in his head, which I can see and get.
I understand.
Yeah. But I don't know, maybe that's why he off the team. But I really love him. My favorite album was the one with was the Seinfeld.
Oh,
album.
Yeah, girl. High key.
What's the name of that?
I don't know, but I know the song.
We should know it.
I know. And one of my favorite songs is Lotus Flower Bomb.
Yes. What, in life?
Yes, fully.
No, I need to know the name of this album. Sorry. No, that's a song.
Wow, and the confidence was coming out.
No, because that's just one of my favorite songs on the album. The album about nothing. That's the name of the album.
Let me see.
Yes.
That's insane. I also love The Gifted. That was a good album. But yeah,
Good albums. But yeah. What you been up to, girl?
nothing. Boxing. Living life. How's your book going?
Yeah. So, guys. I've been reading, I don't know why. I was really good in history.
Yeah.
But I realized I was thinking of data. I don't know nothing about certain countries anymore. I feel like we still learn about World War One, World War Two, the Renaissance, Victorian era. And I was just like, what about the books are coming out now? What are you going to be teaching? So then I got The Power of Geography, which is basically like, it's explaining, I forget his geopolitical stuff.
Yeah.
So like, countries and where they are in the world, what's going on in the country, and how that's linked to politics and how we all affected by it if war was to break out, for example. Like I was telling them, the first country was Australia, and I didn't know Australia was so connected to America and how much of a role that connection is because it's so close to China. And then the second one was about Iran, but we all know Iran was fighting with America for years. And the connection with Iran and Iraq. And then they explained how that whole war come to be. But then it's like realizing how like, I don't know. I don't know if other people had that. And I remember when certain things would be going on, like when they would have elections in the States and stuff like that, we would just be like, yeah, that have nothing to do with me. But then it's like now in this climate that we're living in, which we was talking about yesterday.
Yeah.
Reading this book and with everything that's going on, it making me realize that like, especially living in Europe, I don't know this. I was telling Kristen earlier, I feel like there's some weird energy that in the air that just have me like, I don't know what's going on. But it's like I should be paying attention to these things more.
I ain't gonna lie, I one of them people that ain't got nothing to do with me, even though it has everything to do with me. Until it has to do with me, it don't have anything to do with me. That makes sense? Where it's a case of like, everything is going on in the world and I think I should be informed 100%.
Yeah.
I think I should have 3 days worth of food in my house 100%. I have about a week worth of homemade bagels. But you know, it's actually a policy in the Netherlands in general to have 72 hours worth of food in your house.
Yeah.
Just in case weather conditions, in case there's a lockdown or whatever, just to have that as always.
But I feel like in the Caribbean, we just do that because of hurricanes. So like we grew up, but I think we all grew up with having like a bunch of canned food, ready, flashlights, candles, when hurricane come, or just even when current go, you could survive. But then I think coming here sometimes I don't know, I think the luxury we have living here, we don't think that that's necessary or needed. But the whole reason that conversation come up is because Mark Rutte,
now Secretary of NATO.
Yeah, he was basically saying that like people should prepare for war. Yeah, and that was the whole thing. But I feel like that's obvious.
Since when Mark Rutte's Secretary of NATO?
Girl, he left his position, and now there was a whole thing of how he moved to Belgium because that's where and there was a whole thing about how much money government spending for the house that he living in and which street it was. I remember that was on the news, but a lot of people in St. Martin, I see this news, and my mother called me so worried. Like, a day I was on my desk, and my mother called me, she's like, Hadie, I hearing that, like, they're going to have war coming and da-da-da-da.
That's why I don't listen to the news.
But you see, I was like, Mama, it's not as serious. And then literally that day, I went downstairs, and my colleague was saying that, because one of her cousins work in defense. What's that in English?
Defense.
Anyway. Yeah, and they was also saying that especially right.
Oh my god! What's that in English? Sorry.
I thought no, because we just call it like it is the Ministry of
Defense.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, her cousin was saying that, like, especially in these times, especially because they've been saying that not necessarily war, but like they've been talking about cyber attacks. So, like, if we were to be attacked cyber-wise, especially our banking system.
In Tesla, that cyber attack, Elon Musk lost like what, $1 billion, $200 billion.
Okay, but
no, but like cyber attacks are happening.
Yeah, so they were saying
our
banking systems that we might not have access to our money, and that we should start really making sure we have cash on us, cash content, so that we could like be able to still operate.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think it's good to know these things. You know what it is with me? Like even when I hear these things, or even when my parents is talking about, this and this going to happen, there's a contrast with when I talk to my mother about the news and when I talk to my father about the news. And I think that's also why, Daddy, I love you. I sorry to put you on blast. That's also why I don't really or never really kept up with the news. It's mainly because I grew up and the first thing you would wake up to is the news. And it's CNN. And CNN for me is just negativity on a loop. Constantly. It's the same news in a different packaging. And I feel like that shapes your view of the world and it continuously shapes a negative view of the world. And for me, I was like, I never want to have that. Like, I never want to see the world for like all the negativity in it. I just, so I would rather be oblivious, which I do think is not productive because I don't think I should be fully oblivious. But I do feel like I know some things. Like there's this TikToker, Dylan Page. He gives you little drops of like what's happening in the world, enough for me to be like, oh wow, I'm aware of this. How can I help in whatever I could do and keep it moving? But to hear like things or to keep getting information about stuff, I feel like I would start to get nervous about something that I don't even know if it's coming. And I do think a war is happening. I think in the history books, in the future, they will be talking about this world war because there's war in so many countries where it's a case of like, okay, when will we experience like a brunt of it or whatever? But
we are experiencing it financially. And that's a whole other conversation we could get into just now.
Yeah.
But no, I hear you. But I guess for me, I don't know. It wasn't always negativity in my head. I was just like, what? Like, this is what's going on. I was so mind blown about everything. Yeah, but in my head, it's like I could disassociate how I like feeling from what's going on in a way.
I feel like you could say that, but if you've seen it and watching it and listening and consuming it every day, first thing in your day, you don't realize the effects it can have long term.
I wasn't, as I said, I was always like, but my parents too.
From like, from me.
I think all of us grew up listening to the news. Some time you get in the car, you're listening to Lady Grace reading the whole newspaper. My mother would have on the radio. My father was always big on CNN, NBC News. Like, but I guess for me, I was a child that was intrigued by it. So it's like I didn't see it as I get it. I didn't see it as negativity. I just saw it as like really like paying attention to what's going on in the world. But I get that though, because it was sometimes a lot of shit.
Yeah, like if it was, I feel like there's different news outlets. Whereas like some of them I could absorb or be interested from a place of being informed. But I think with certain news outlets, like CNN, Fox News, or whatever, it was we're pushing a narrative. And it was always carried with negativity. And I always thought that was to get people in panic because I always used to say you could control people more when they're in panic or stress. And that's why I was always like against it, basically. But yeah, I do think it's good to be informed.
I think how you like stay in contact with the news is however. Like if that's TikTok, if that's Instagram, if that's Facebook, even though Facebook is a lot of shit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. At this point now where we be, I think I don't always take it upon myself to look at the news. I have a whole Zego abonnement and I do not put on regular TV.
Exactly.
But I should start doing it. Or like even...
But you're not scared that you might be fed the wrong shit too?
But to me, it's like what I take with the news and go learn about it from there on out. Because you could be watching CNN, they could tell you about the speech that Donald Trump gave today and they could give their opinion. But then I could also go up and go look for what really I think or other people think, or just even a lot of the conversations that they did be having on certain podcasts and just hear the different perspectives and then just gather my own opinion from it. I think a lot of these news outlets, how you were talking about Daily Mail earlier, because the UK also have that problem. They're going to always be pushing a certain narrative, but for me, it's just more so the actual facts from what they're saying is what I used to be like paying attention to.
But how are you able to discern facts?
If you're talking about, for example, he gave this speech today, or you're talking about the war that happened today in Ukraine, or for example, after the ceasefire, that this and this happened, those are facts. So to me, I take away the fact that, okay, the ceasefire stopped, but then they immediately start bombing. And then they're going to give their opinion, or they're going to talk about it in a manner where you could see what side they stand on. But I think even those things, like if you have children, that's where even in the classroom sometimes we still wouldn't watch the news because then they're learning how to discern literally what's the facts.
Yeah.
And like get our different perspectives. And I think that's good, to be honest, and to be able to decipher it. But that's how I look at it. But I was going to say something, but I forget.
Well, quick plug. If you're actually interested in, if you're not really sure how to differentiate or navigate the news landscape, there is a website that's called groundnews.com. And, maybe sometime in the future we get a nice little sponsor, but this video is not sponsored. It's a very good, they basically give you all of the happenings, and then they show you a meter as to how many of the news articles are on the left, how much are on the right, and which is in the center. So you could kind of get an idea right away which
My news bias.
Yeah, it's called Ground News, but it's basically showing the biases between which political side or not. So you still feel a bit more informed when taking in your information. So that's a note.
And that's a big, but what you're talking about is a big thing people been having nowadays, because it's like people wake up and realize a lot of the news or outlets we've been listening to from small, been pushing a certain narrative.
Yeah.
And that's why some people don't really watch the news now. But that's why television kind of becoming a dying business, because people listen to these kind of conversations more. And that's why I say to me is that you could watch the news and take it, but then go and listen to other outlets to kind of see what's the different perspectives. But I also don't watch the news now, but I just mean growing up, I used to like listening to it. I don't know why.
I just feel now, even the whole fact that it was on a loop, you get desensitized to what is being spoken about. Just from a place of like, first you hear this happening in one country, then you hear the same thing happening in another country. And I feel like we start to disconnect from the actual reality of like what's going on. I don't know if you notice that.
Yeah, but that's where I just be like, but I have to. In a way, I could be concerned and try to like speak up for the cause, but I am empath. So if I stay there and like really dive in and give all my feelings to what's going on in Haiti or Congo or Palestine, like I'm gonna start to like, I don't know, I being the person I am, I'm going to get depressed. So like I just have to disassociate myself, but I don't see that as the same as being desensitized, because I do realize it's a problem. But as me, I think some people, especially like the younger generation now, they're going to definitely be desensitized to certain things happening, like it's just normal, except for the causes that matter to them, because they're very much in tune with like what's going on over there in Israel and Palestine, and then it's like because it's so close to home for them, is an issue. But then you don't see the outlets talking about the other countries or whatever. So I don't know, but in general, we just desensitize in general as a society with everything, with death. And but death as in the sense of like when it happened in whatever way. So like people getting killed off in America and da. Like we just be outraged for a couple of minutes, but then it's like we just go about our day.
Yeah. I think it's partly because we wasn't supposed to know what's happening in every country. You know, from a place of back, because back then you wouldn't know unless you got a letter, like probably after the war done or something. Just from a place of like...
They had radios back then.
Yeah, but I mean, depends on how back then you go.
I hear our parents like, what?
No, like, depends on how, because they had a lot of wars fought. So, like we say from the place of...
World War II and them ones, they definitely said radio.
Yeah,
but I think our parents were so young, I don't think they kind of... I would have to talk to my grandparents to know how they was getting that information.
But I feel like in those times, you and your demographic are less desensitized because you feel like you say with your kids, it hits close to home because like a lot of them are connected to it. So there's that place of like, okay, there is maybe movements started. I think there's movements started now for sure. But more so in the country itself or surrounding it. So that way it was more cluster of that being an occurrence and people like working towards that. And then there was just multiple clusters. Now we are absorbing every single cluster. And I think that's what makes it difficult too, because it's a case of like when there was war before, maybe in Germany you would hear what's happening in Europe, but in the States they would hear it, but it wouldn't be so
I think what you're saying is mostly like the rate of how fast we're hearing it and how much times and how much outlets we get
And
into.
how up
I
to
think
date
that
we
you
are.
could hear it, but then it's like you miss the 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock news
Exactly.
hour. And you hear it,
Yeah.
but it's not a constant. You open up your phone and you're seeing it every minute of the day.
Yeah.
I think how we getting it now is just like constant,
Exactly.
which is, different. But I don't know. So it's like, that's why it's like, I don't know, we living in such times. And then I see this TikTok where it was like, as a millennial, how much recessions we've been through now. Like, which is, and so is he telling me if that happened again, is that we're going through another recession?
I done tried to tell myself like every time had its time. You know, when like they thought the world was going to end and all of that, and they had the technology period, and there's all of these like dystopias that everybody could imagine. And I think that makes me feel at ease just to know we've all been through it, kind of. But it is difficult. It's more so, I'm not going to lie, guys, I'm going to be the Lulu till I die. Like, I'm going to not see war until I see war. I contribute to like certain areas that are affected in a way that's unfair because I'm aware of that. But it's more so like until I hear that scary ass alarm.
Every Monday. Monday.
And you know what had me stocking up food in my house? That alarm, the first time I heard it. I was so scared I was going to hide in the washing machine. I shit you not. This one, guys, it was so bad. I felt like Chicken Little, the sky was falling. This was so bad because this is the first time I reached the Netherlands. And that Monday hit and the 12 o'clock pull up. And I heard the alarm and I thought I was in the 2012 movie. And I run to my grandmother crying. I actually had tears in my eyes. I was like, oh man, what's happening? Are we going to die? I was getting, it was bad. It was bad. I don't know why I didn't hear that before or wasn't warned about that. But
I was warned. I can't even remember.
I was not warned and I was scared shitless, but I think it's because I watched a movie that was like an end of the world movie shortly before that.
But like maybe because he was home. I think I was in my class and then my classmates just explained me that this has happened.
Yeah, no, I was home. Yeah, and I think we close to one of the alarm pillars because it was loud. And my window was open. Guys, anyways.
But they should tell people that just because my school have children that like, how to explain? It's like we have a section for students that just come to the country to live and they can't go into regular education because they don't know the language. But some of them just stream into regular education because they're just doing well. And I can't remember. It was so sad. Like we had it on Monday. Because I always have that class at 12 o'clock, around 12 o'clock. And he was so panicked. But it's like, you have to prepare kids that just come from war countries for these kind of things. And he like panic and gets up. And I was just like, no, it's okay. It's okay. It's something that is happening.
That would break my heart.
But yeah, like they need trigger warnings for these kind of things.
100%.
But I was watching Paradise, which is a show I think everybody should go and watch. I find like some TV. It's not TV, no.
Streaming. It's streaming.
But
I mean, I heard they're getting commercials now and thing.
What? I don't want that.
Yeah.
That's literally the part I don't want.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, streaming.
But Paradise, like, I feel like a lot of some good, like, shows, I was gonna say shit. A lot of good movies and TV series, like, out here now. But Paradise is, like, one of the best in a while. But the funny thing is I come to realize that the same man that created This Is Us, which is one of my favorite TV shows, very intense. That's a show to watch when you're in a good space. Yeah. Because I cry. I would say out of how much ever episodes, maybe 2 episodes I cry.
What? Is one season?
No. I think 6. It's a very like deep, like I don't know how he does tell his stories. It's just, by one thing and I thought I am past. So I just really feel with the characters and the storyline and what they said.
Makes sense.
So he create Paradise now too. But in short, it's about the president of America, president of America, yes, and he very close with his the head of his Secret Service, and the whole show is about basically them preparing for when the world end. Yeah, nobody know that happening except the president. Okay, and something happened, but the whole show to me was like speaking about the fact that how like a lot of the rich people going to just protect each other, and the poor people not gonna know what's happening.
I mean.
But it made me think about Would You Rather. Oh. And it was like, no,
I'm listening. What's the Would You Rather?
Would you rather, if somebody comes to you and tell you like there's a better world out there that exists, you could go live in it. Yeah. Would you go, but you can't know any details, or would you rather stay with what you know? in this world that you know?
But
You can't know any
I would
details.
probably stay in this world because I won't know if my family gonna be there. I won't know if my friends gonna be there. I won't know if I will remember who I am. I won't know if I have a new
You
identity.
remember who you are, but you
That's even
you
worse.
just gotta pick up your life and go there.
Yeah, no, because I don't know if I gonna see the people who I have here.
Mm-hmm. But
Or
what would
if
be a
they will
better
be the
world to
same.
you?
So they say it's a better
They
world,
say it's a better world than what we currently living in.
then my parents would be living in it. So I would probably go.
Okay,
High
yeah.
key.
Yeah.
A better world would be a world that our core is not clouded by all this shit that's going around, and the love is very, 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 very present, and just a world where we respect each other and love each other, and it's probably a corny world, but it's a world I would love to live in.
I get that.
Like, I wake up and everybody I go to see is excited to see me, and I'm excited to see them. Yeah, like the food we eat is immaculate, and we feel very nourished rather than heavy. We do a lot of activities like crocheting and puzzles. But no, honestly, it would really truly be a world where every single person is content without it being an imbalance or without it being something that is unrealistic. It's just everybody knows within themselves that their life is amazing, and they're able to spread and project exactly how they feel in their contentment with everybody around them, which just creates a cycle of contentment.
That does sound like a utopia. I get that. I also
And the
would stay
weather's
in
good.
I would also stay in this world. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know. I don't like the unknown. I can't function.
But if they say better world,
Yeah, but then I definitely thinking from a selfish point of view, because it's like a better world
for who?
me. Oh,
But if you telling me better world, that means the world is better.
yeah. But
I am just one piece of the world.
But then there's things that you talking about is where it's like, I don't know, as you say, I don't know who coming in that world with me. So then it's like, I literally just doing this for the betterment of myself. But I don't know if all my loved ones getting to experience this better world.
I think, okay, we're getting deep here. So you know how they say how they have multiple realities and dimensions and whatnot, and whatever you choose to focus on is the matter that you create around you. I feel like if you're telling me a better world, my view of a better world is what I'm going into, and your view of a better world is what you're going into, and we all existing in these better worlds.
I get that.
But they're just projections of what we see as better worlds, because everybody's better is subjective. So it's just that case of, I will take the better world because in the better world, I know it'll be what I see as a better world, which is exactly what I just said with the cycle of contentment and my family and friends.
If it's that, then okay. But I think in the would you rather scenario, it's just they mean it's a better situation than what the world is now. Because in the show, I was telling you, in the show Paradise, the line that stuck out to me was the president was telling him the world is 19 times more effed than people realize. And I was just like,
19 times in comparison to what?
Like saying we don't realize that the world
is as
horrible as it actually is, and it's 19 times worse than we think it actually is.
But as in the show.
Yeah, but I think in reality it's probably 30 times more.
I actually think
it is. I think it's way worse than we think it is. And we're not just talking about political things. It's back to like even things that we realize in this year. We're already in 2025. From the start of 2024, when a bunch of stuff just start to unravel and you don't realize that we know a fraction of what's going on. That's what I mean in the
My
sense.
focus is like really and truly what is the state of the soil? Because that's like a huge thing.
But then that is definitely I think in the would you rather a better world than what we is today is not 19 times more effed, but it's just a perfect world where everything in the ecosystem, everything is perfect to the point where there's no conflict, there's no war, there's no global warming, everyone's good, the animals are happy, we happy, and I think that's a perfect world. But then there's the conversation of what you're saying, but then for me, a better world is something that is linked to like my family and things that like I value as well.
Yeah, that's a part in it.
Yeah.
As long as my family does.
I don't know if that's what
I think it is, because if you ask me if I want a better world, it is subjective to what I think is better.
Yeah.
Like, well, is your would you rather? So to be honest.
No, would you rather I mean just better than what planet Earth currently is now versus what is better in Jodie's world.
But I'm probably naive, guys. But I don't think the world is like 30% worse than it is. I think what we see is what makes it seem worse than it is. Like, genuinely. Because if you look at, like, especially back then and stuff, and people beheading each other and whatnot, don't get me wrong, that was medieval times. And you had the peasants and you had the rich. But it was very similar to what we have now. The rich were always at the top, and they take up, like, 10%, 10 times more than, like, everybody on a whole. And then you just have the peasants. And I do feel like certain things that happen now were happening, and maybe even worse things that we just didn't see or aren't just privy to. And I do think there's a lot of shit going on now, unfortunately, especially when it comes to inflation, the economy, desensitization, and all of that. But I guess it's the naive part of me. I also do think there's just a lot of good stuff, but it's so covered in negativity of people's opinions online, or negativity of propaganda, or negativity of headlines, that a group of us is just kind of sucked into that, including myself sometimes. But I don't, and I guess this is me being naive, I don't think like the world is in such a shit. I just think we're fed a lot of shit constantly.
I think the world is in a lot of shit.
But as big as the world is, and the information that we get is a fraction of the world itself, for sure.
There's a lot of good shit, but I think there's so much like horrible shit that we're not aware of. And I think the fact that we all don't know it is a privilege. The fact that we don't experience it is a privilege. And I think there's so much other things going on. Like, we could sit out here, but if we was living in Haiti, we would see the world is 30 times worse than it actually is. But that's what I mean. So there's like, it depends on...
Well, I wouldn't say that it's still 30% worse, but I think it's just that there's always that contrast and polarity in life. There's always that. Because then you have like Katie, and then you have like, I don't know, the Maldives. I've never been, but it looks really nice. Just from a place of like, you always have polarizing states of just life. And I do think that there is a lot of negativity. That's one thing I'm not dismissing. I just feel like, you could be in a room with a bunch of people and have 10 good conversations, but one bad conversation stands out.
I get what you're trying to say.
Yeah, and I don't think that, like, cool, there's only one bad conversation that we have, and maybe there's more. I just feel like that all these things stick so much to the point where we see in the 30% that is bad, and it's really bad. But just like we don't know everything, we also not seeing a lot that's good, or we not even taking it in as good, because we probably don't see that as a reality that we're in, because we so focused on what's bad.
What would you say good about like the times we're living in now?
I think just people doing good. Even people doing acts of service to people every day and whatnot, or people having organizations that push what they stand for with like different communities or whatnot, or people building stuff for different communities, or even stuff with climate change, even though climate is going to shit, just doing stuff to create progress there. Or I feel like there's a lot of people in the world that's doing good. Even if you look at the monks and their monasteries and how they're developing as humans and how they're seeing the world from a place of peace. Stuff like that, where it's like those things are present, and they're present also next to the bad things, but it's just so easier for us as humans just in general to lean and absorb more of the bad things, especially when media continues to push it.
I get what you're saying, but I don't look at it that way. Because to me, it's like you have the meso, micro, and I guess macro level of things.
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of things you mentioned to me is not on the macro level. I think a lot of the things that are going on in the world right now, like affecting us on a macro level. I think like if your reality removed from it, you're not going to see it. And I think then it's easy to then just be like, it's not as bad as they think. And I think the fact that we could just be like, how I even said earlier that we could disassociate ourselves.
With everything that's going on, it is as bad as it is.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, just to clarify, like, I don't think what's going on is not as bad as it is.
But for you, it's like you're saying, like, to not focus on it.
It's not that.
Yeah.
It's a case of we looking at, let's say, 40% of the world where the wars are happening, where there's so much hate and just things going on. That's 40% that we're focusing on right now. And then there's another 40% where good is happening. I'm not saying that we totally disregard the 40%, but I'm saying is I don't see the world in a place of like, I do see it as there's a lot that's going on that's bad. But like I said, probably in a naive sense, but also in a sense of even giving the world grace, I guess, see that 40%, in the way it's communicated, it seems like 80%. Whereas there's that other 40% that there's positive there. There's stuff that we could see that people's doing that's for the positive, but we aren't so exposed to that, or we aren't so knowledgeable of that, because the 40% that's communicated as if it's 80% takes up most of our brain space, because that's what is mostly communicated.
Me personally, it doesn't. But I do think if the world is more fucked than we think it is, that is where everybody's focus should be, or what it is. I do think people do realize that there's good. If you're going to put it in percentages, if you're going to say it's 40-40, I don't think it's 40. I know you just say for good. But I think, like, realistically, there's probably, like, and that's going back to the levels I'm talking about. I think a lot of the good happening in the world, I can't remember, it's macro? Meso, micro? I think a lot of the good going on in the world.
Micro is a smaller.
Yeah. So a lot of the good going on in the world to me is in the first two layers. And I'm not sure if a lot of the good, there's good in the world in the macro level, but I think a lot of the things in that level are not great right now. And I think that's why for me, it depends where you've laying the focus on. If I'm worrying about where the world heading, I think on a macro level, that's going to affect eventually the other levels.
100%.
So, I don't know.
Inevitably.
Yeah.
But
so then it's like,
we
that's why
absorb
to
that
me,
more.
like, that might seem more intense. That's why to me it's like, yeah, it seems more like that's the narrative everybody pushing. But I think if it's on such a high level, like, it's going to come across that way. I guess. Like, it's going to come across like that's the focus right now, even though there's other good things happening. But if those other good things not really affecting me on a... Because I could look at TikTok and I see things that make me smile every day. And you look into the world and it's like, that's really beautiful that this is happening. But if we're going to be talking about things like what we were talking about earlier, we're not going to really affect just how we live in and our access to certain things, and it's starting to affect certain countries right now that we're not in, then to me it's like, that's a bigger issue, and why I think everybody focusing on that right now. So, yeah, I guess that's how I look at it.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That fully makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to hear back what I say later and be like, did I land?
Nah, you landed. Because I agree. I feel like just with regards to focusing on stuff, the negative is something that is in the forefront because it affects us, let's say directly, but also from a place of like, it obviously affects us because there's consequences involved.
But I actually think people not focusing on it. I actually think people like being naive and not, like what you say is like, we could sit here and be like, let's not focus on it. And I think a lot of people like that. Like, nobody really focusing on what's really going on in the world. So it's like, we choosing to look at the good and we choosing to look at like the positive. But everybody, because as I say, I don't even turn on the news and really dive into what's really going on. And
I think for me, I could speak for myself, but it's just a case of like, I do think people are focusing, but like I said, with the clusters, there's so much clusters that you don't really know what to focus on. Like with the Palestine thing, I focused on that just from a place of seeing where I could contribute, but also being knowledgeable of that because it's something that's occurring.
Yeah.
And then all of the stuff in like Sudan and Congo and whatnot, just being knowledgeable of it so I know what's happening, especially if I'm in conversations with people, to have that sensitivity towards exactly what's going on. But I do think it's difficult to focus on so many things because then it becomes that thing of like you get depressed and whatnot. And that's what I was saying with the whole thing of focus. It's not a case of like not focusing on negativity. It's more so maybe trying to focus on 40% negativity, 40% positivity. I don't know if I say 40%, maybe 50-50, but I don't want to put it down the...
But you feel like what being fed to us is not the positivity. Is also...
No, it's more so what we latch onto. It's just human nature to latch onto negativity so you know if there's a threat or not. That's literally just human nature.
Yeah.
So I just feel like it starts to distort our reality or our perception of reality. And that's why I say, for me and being naive, I probably will stay naive until, like I say, Dululu, until I die. Just because I want to believe in the world from a place of knowing that it's a good place so I could do what I say in my utopia, which is project that contentment so that it could spread. So at least there's a level of like multiple people knowing that the world is a good place, even though there's a lot of shit going on.
We could continue this after. But
yeah,
it's like, no, because to me it's like, you don't have to be naive to spread it. If you
not naive to spread it, but naive. A lot of people would say I'm naive, just with regard to even like how you saying you think the world is much worse off than it is. People would, and I guess this is me kind of calling it out before people call me that, but people would say it's naive to think that that the world's not as bad as it's being shown to be, even though it is really bad. But that there's good that we just not seeing that we kind of neglecting, mainly because in human nature it's easier to, or we just stick on to the bad
Yeah,
stuff.
I guess the conversation is like, yes, I think everybody acknowledges good, right?
Do you?
How you mean?
I don't think everybody acknowledges. I think people acknowledge it does good, but on a micro level.
Mm-hmm. That's what I mean. Like it on a micro and like mental
No, I
level.
mean it within themselves on a micro level. Like
No,
a micro
man.
level of
People
themselves.
is really like, even back to what we see on the internet, there's things that people acknowledge as good that's happening. But I just think like, if it's not affecting, and that's with anything that happen in any country or in life, if it's not affecting you directly, it's very easy to then just be like I don't have, like, that's not where the focus is or whatever. But
I hear it.
yeah.
Wow.
Was there
Our
anything
first
I want to
like
talk about?
political-ish conversation, guys.
Yeah. How long are we recording? That's so
great.
good.
It should stop at 55. That would be so cool.
But we was recording.
Okay, so
Okay.
guys, thank y'all for tuning in so much. This was a great conversation. I feel like I've learned stuff. I feel like we've spoken about what we talked about life in the world, and let us know what are you think too. Let me know if I'm naive. Like I genuinely want to know how many people would probably think that, or if it was me just being in my head. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Join the
Not say
Patreon,
that.
get your merch, and you can see us on Patreon next week.
Yes.
Bye. Bye.